I got a letter. The letter said that Konami was remaking Silent Hill 2. Couldn't possibly be true. All of my respect for that company had died over 10 years ago with that damn PT incident. But then, why am I here? Paying full price for a remake of a 24-year-old game. Maybe it's just that last sliver of hope for this franchise I held so dear. If they messed up this one, that would be my last straw with Konami.
Silent Hill 2 is one of my personal favorite games of all time. I played it at just the right time, right when I was starting to get into the horror genre, with things like Alien, with its slow pacing and atmosphere. Now, I did start off playing the Xbox 360 HD remaster, which is pretty controversial in the Silent Hill fan base, but even despite its flaws, it still cemented itself as one of my favorite horror games and influenced my taste in not just games, but movies and music alike. There's no jump scares for cheap thrills. There's no hiding from the monster either. In Silent Hill, the horror all comes from the psychological elements of the game. The atmosphere as a whole has always been one of my favorite aspects of the series. Just walking through the fog-swept town, passing by all the empty storefronts, felt like a home away from home. Gave me peace in a way. Familiar, but unfamiliar. It's a feeling that I've never experienced in any other game that I've played. But, all that being said, how does a remake recapture it? A lot of what I was saying about my relationship with Konami was true, some of it a little bit heightened, but just the way they handled their relationship with Kojima after canceling PT, and just the fact that they canceled PT, and then to add salt in the wound, they took it off the store so you couldn't even download anymore, even though it was free, not really doing anyone any harm. I've played a lot of horror games and watched a lot of horror movies, and I've never been as unsettled or spooked as when I played the original PT. And it seems like a lot of other gamers felt the same way, as the indie horror scene around that time for the next 4 to 5 years was just trying to recapture that magic, to varying results.
Thankfully, it looks like PT will finally get its official successor with Kojima announcing OD recently. I'm really looking forward to that one. Suddenly out of nowhere, Konami announces that they're remaking Silent Hill 2 along with several other Silent Hill projects in the works. Some trailers had come out and people were ready to complain, of course. If I'm being honest, some of the gameplay they showed did look pretty underdone. Upon the game's release, I avoided every playthrough, every IGN review, anything like that. I wanted to go in as fresh as possible, without any outside influence. I wanted to experience the game for myself and give my own thoughts on it. And thankfully, once I finally got to play the game, it delivered on all fronts for me. The original soundtrack for Silent Hill 2 is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. And thankfully, the great composer Akira Yamaoka returned to do the music for the remake. And every track, old and new, feels fresh yet familiar. They all feel in line with the original Silent Hill 2, and they drive home the right emotions right when they're supposed to. Outside of the audible atmosphere, the visuals of the game do a really good job of driving home the essence of the old areas in the original game. Even though things like the layouts of the buildings have changed, the lighting and the textures are all updated and different, which look great by the way, it still feels like the old areas. And that's something that I feel like a lot of modern remakes either have a tough time trying to do or just don't bother. The first person we meet is a woman named Angela, and right off the bat, you can tell that something's very off with her. It should be mentioned at this point in the video as well that the voice acting in the original version of the game was kinda odd, and some might say bad even. People will argue to death on whether this was an intentional thing or not, as all the voice actors they got were just kinda random people off the street with no real voice acting talent. Gianna Keel, the voice actress for Angela in the remake, does a really good job of taking that uncanny and strange vibe of the original game and bringing it to a more grounded and relatable space.
I'm happy to say that they totally did Angela's character justice. One thing I'll mention a little bit later when we get to the boss fights is that Angela's backstory and character has a lot of really sensitive and touchy topics that a lot of people were afraid they might pull their punches on, but everything is kept just as it is in the original.
The next character we meet is Laura, a bratty little girl who is more often than not seen bullying, chastising, and vilifying James, stomping on his hand, giving him raspberries, and calling him a fart face. A lot. Like, a lot. Not that he doesn't always deserve it. I don't have too much to say about Laura, as thankfully, once again, most of her content is kept the exact same. Closer to the end of the game, when you meet her in the hotel, her and James share a sequence that is done exceptionally well and really gives Laura a chance to talk to James about her relationship to Mary. It's a really nice scene and it's acted very well, which I should say now, every voice actor absolutely kills it in this game. Next up is Eddie. Once again, his character is left completely intact, and in some regards even improved upon from the original in my opinion. For instance, the game's graphics are of a much higher fidelity than anything that came out in 2001, and the animators really took advantage of the new tools at their disposal. Seriously, some of the facial animations in this game are some of the best I've ever seen in a game. One thing about Eddie that I wasn't as big of a fan of is Eddie's boss fight. Granted, it's still a definite improvement over the original. The fight is meant to be about limited visibility, but it feels more frustrating than interesting for me. Last but certainly not least is Maria. This is arguably the most important character to get right, and the most important side character in the game that spends a significant amount of screen time with James. On my second playthrough of the game, I had my stepbrother sit in on the couch and watch me play. There were plenty of times when I was just doing some exploring or things of that nature where he was just on his phone more than anything. But once I got to Maria, that was a moment that I saw him intentionally put his phone down and start to really pay attention to the story. And there's definitely a reason for that. Okay, there might be multiple reasons for some people, but genuinely things get a lot more interesting after meeting her. And I do think there is an argument to be made that the introduction to Maria really starts to kick the story into gear. Silent Hill games are usually split up into three main sections for the gameplay: exploration, puzzle solving, and combat. While the old Silent Hill games were never known for their stellar combat, it was always still a part of them that broke up the other sides of the game. Similar to the recent Resident Evil remakes, James has a slight dodge move to get out of the way of incoming attacks. It's no Dark Souls rule, but it gets the job done. The biggest difference outside of James' new mobility is the aggression of the enemies. In the original, it was pretty easy to just walk around the enemies and avoid combat. And while that still can be possible, it's much harder to get away from enemies now. Even on the normal difficulty, I saw the death screen a fair amount.
Another aspect of the remake that I really appreciate is the fact that they keep the designs of the monsters and enemies true to the original. There's something about their design and how they reflect James' dark past and makes them scary outside of just their appearances.
Enemies also get a super variation in the Otherworld version of each area. These are much faster, tougher, and more aggressive than the main counterparts. So overall, this is a much more challenging game than the original. And this extends to the boss fights as well. Some things remain the same. For instance, you can still go pacifist on Pyramid Head's first encounter, which is a great touch to keep. But then bosses like the Flesh Daddy are completely revamped with a brand new area and more phases and mechanics to learn. The environment still gives subtle hints towards the twisted meaning behind it, even adds in sections where you are meant to hide inside of a closet, tying into Angela's dark past even further. Exploration is another key aspect of the Silent Hill gameplay loop. However, the remake adds in new Otherworld sections to each of the areas, acting as a part 2 for each section. A twisted, grotesque, and rusty nightmare art piece to explore. It truly twists and distorts each hallway, making it feel like a completely unique space. One of the things I had seen through images and videos as well as watching the movies that initially pulled me into wanting to know more about the Silent Hill franchise was the Otherworld. While Silent Hill 2 has always been my favorite entry in the series by far, the original lacked that distinct rusty hellscape that the other games prominently featured. Any and all Otherworld sections mostly just made the environment look like it had a ton of water damage, which was thematic for sure, but not as standout as the environments in, say, Silent Hill 3. The last part of Silent Hill's gameplay loop is its puzzles, and anyone who knows about the original Silent Hill 2 will recognize some of the more infamous puzzles from that game. This is yet another area of the remake that I feel it excels in. though not without its minor faults. For instance, the decorative box puzzle is still in this game, but now the questions have been changed and are a bit tougher to figure out, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but the rewards you get for opening the box, while helpful, only go so far with how many enemies they put into this section of the game. Also in regards to that box puzzle, the game show host voice in the elevator doesn't quite capture the same feel as the original. Again, not that it's really all that bad, it's just different from the original in a way that I wasn't expecting.
While I've sung this game's praises to heavens and back, it's gotten dark and I think I'm starting to see things. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about some of the things that didn't quite land as well for me.
The game opens with an entirely new section where you have to go around the town to a bunch of different buildings to solve a puzzle involving a jukebox. This entire section is super cool and really fun to play through. My only issue is that it's kind of the only area in the game that's like it, especially when you go through the town in the other world. Those couple of brief sections are just really railroaded and almost feel like they're encouraging you to run through and just get the hell out. Another minor thing I should touch on is the inclusion of Easter eggs that are hidden around the game to showcase stuff from the original. These in and of themselves are not inherently bad, but definitely feel a little member-berry-y. In some cases they are just calling back to the old versions of things that are in the remake anyway, so why have a callback to it? We do get a callback to James' famous pizza line though, so it's not all bad.
This town's full of monsters. Who could just sit here and eat pizza?
If you're interested at all or on the fence about trying out Silent Hill 2, I just want to leave you off with this sentiment. Silent Hill 2 is one of my personal favorite games of all time, and if they had screwed it up, I wouldn't be here talking to you about it. I truly believe that Bloober team have done a really good job at bringing back this classic into the modern era. So yeah, be sure to like, comment, and the hell was that?
Oh. Hey, what are you doing, man?
Wait, you're not Pyramid Head. You're my brother.
Yeah, it's me. Why are you on my YouTube channel?
When did you get a mustache?
What mustache? Oh!
All right, I just wanted to say thanks, you guys, for watching my review of Silent Hill 2. I know it's not my channel.
Yeah, it's, you know what, there had to be some content here because there hasn't been in, well, since the slide video, which was at a different park. Although, I should say, if you like this Silent Hill 2 review and you like spooky stuff, check out my Reading the Raven, which I think is also coming out today or tomorrow maybe, whenever I have time for it. Can you tell I'm cold? A little cold.
A little. Well, you're more exposed than
usual. Well, I had to do this lower stomach reveal before I'd have a bunch of stitches here because I'm going to be getting surgery. Speaking of health things, let's talk Extra Life, which is coming up as well. November 8th, I'm going to be playing a hell of a lot of Civilization 6 and Left 4 Dead 2 with my friends, raising money for charity as always. So make sure you tune into those streams and donate if you can.
Yeah, and be sure to have a happy Halloween, everyone.
Tell us what you dressed up as this Halloween
in the comments.
There you go.
Yeah.